I started working with wood when I was a kid, actually, in Kentucky, whittling with my grandfather. That was my first experience carving wood. I took that up, and that's where I learned the basics of how to handle wood and how to work with the blade. The figures that I carve, they're borderline self-portraits. They're all male forms, but they're more almost metaphysical self-portraits. I'm thinking of more of like figures that represent my own spiritual struggles, and kind of in that same line trying to peer deep enough where it's something that other people can relate to as well. And I feel like everyone, when you strip away enough of our layers, we all have commonalities. I've always used reclaimed lumber. It's something that's always been important to me. When I first started working with wood, I was working with wood in Kentucky, and I was working with down barns that were in the vicinity of where I was living, and it has always been something that's been important to me, using reclaimed materials. This piece originally came from about 3 pieces of lumber, which I ended up having to trim down to create the shoulders, and then laminate it up on either side. So when I'm doing the laminations, I basically am starting with a solid block of wood, similar to this, and then this would be basically, you can see how that folds right into that kind of space. So you would have glue spread on both sides, and then it would be laminated up. And then from that solid block that I'm working with, then I'll carve into the form. I would take away material originally with a chainsaw to just rough out the form and make cross cuts through the piece. As I'm gouging it out, I'm still making decisions about how I want the finished product to look. So I'm like making critical decisions even during that time. And all throughout that process, I'm also constantly stopping, putting down my gouges, stepping further away, coming back to it with Sharpie markers, but then I'll draw onto the forms to elaborate the figure more as I'm working on it. And then I'll go back to the gouges. It's a constant process of removing material, stepping away, making critical decisions, and coming back to the figure again, and then removing more material. Sculpting is something that I feel like I could do for the rest of my life and still not be as good as I want to be. And that's my real goal for my life, is being able to progress every year, every day, being a little bit better at what I do.